Underwater car and train graveyards, wreckage of spacecraft, shocking natural phenomena, and myths that have become reality. Now I will show you the craziest and most unusual things found in the ocean. Imagine you're diving deep beneath the waves, the ocean floor dark and silent, when suddenly, you see it. A perfectly intact Volkswagen Beetle just sitting there. No shipwreck, no road leading to it, nothing. Just a car, eerily out of place in the vast emptiness of the ocean. This isn't a movie scene, it's a real mystery. Off the coast of California, divers discovered a classic VW Beetle sitting upright on the seabed as if it had been parked there. The car looked surprisingly well preserved, with little damage despite the harsh, saltwater environment. No one could explain how it got there. There were no missing vehicle reports, no records of a sunken cargo ship carrying cars, and no signs of an accident nearby. It was just there. Some believe the car was dumped, perhaps pushed off a boat as some kind of prank or to hide something inside. Others say it could be from a sunken ferry or washed out by a flood. But there's no solid explanation. Now, one car in the ocean is strange, but what about an entire graveyard of sunken vehicles? Off the coast of Florida, divers have uncovered dozens of cars. They said their rusting frames stacked together like an underwater junkyard. Many of the vehicles were found in the Gulf of Mexico, some buried in sand, others sitting eerily upright as if still waiting for their owners to return. But these weren't simply lost in accidents or washed out by storms. Most were deliberately dumped. Why? That's the real question. Some theories suggest insurance fraud, owners sinking their cars to cash in on claims. Others believe it's the work of criminal organizations, using the ocean to dispose of stolen vehicles, weapons, or even bodies. That's where things get even darker. Some cars have been linked to missing persons cases. Imagine the eerie feeling of discovering a sunken car, only to find out it once belonged to someone who vanished without a trace. And here's where things get even weirder. Some of the vehicles were found in near-perfect condition, while others were completely stripped. Almost like someone had taken what they needed before leaving the frame to rot. Theories range from mob activity to mysterious underwater currents that are shifting the vehicles in strange ways. But one thing is for sure, Florida's oceanic car graveyard is no accident. Whether it's a crime scene or something even stranger, these vehicles weren't meant to be found, and yet they keep turning up. Sunken ships and planes are common ocean discoveries, but what about trains? Off the coast of New Jersey, divers exploring the seafloor stumbled upon something completely unexpected. Two perfectly preserved steam locomotives resting deep beneath the Atlantic. No tracks, no wreckage, just massive iron engines sitting eerily in the silence of the deep. These aren't just any trains, they're rare 1850s Planet-class steam locomotives built before the Civil War. And here's the strangest part, no one knows how they got there. There are no records of a ship carrying them sinking, no reports of lost cargo, nothing. It's as if they just appeared on the ocean floor one day. The best guess? Historians believe the locomotives were being shipped across the Atlantic on a barge when a storm hit. Without a proper way to secure the heavy cargo, the engines may have simply slid off into the sea, vanishing into the depths where they remained undiscovered for over a century. But the mystery doesn't stop there. Unlike most sunken metal objects, these trains haven't completely rusted away. In fact, they're still in shockingly good condition. The ocean seems to have preserved them in an eerie, frozen-in-time state, almost like a ghostly tribute to a forgotten era of American industry. In 2011, a group of Swedish treasure hunters searching for shipwrecks in the Baltic Sea stumbled upon something that left scientists, and conspiracy theorists, scratching their heads. On their sonar scans appeared a huge circular structure, nearly 200 feet wide, resting at the bottom of the sea. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. The shape was so precise, so unnatural, that some immediately compared it to the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. The Baltic Sea Anomaly, as it came to be called, was found at a depth of about 300 feet, and its structure was unlike any known rock formation. It had right angles, sharp edges, and what appeared to be a long runway leading to it. When the dive team approached, they reported their electronic equipment malfunctioning. Was this just a coincidence, or was there something strange about this structure? Scientists remain skeptical. Some argue it's just a glacial deposit, while others suggest it's an ancient man-made structure, possibly from a civilization that existed before the last ice age. Then, there are those who refuse to let go of the UFO theory. Could this be a crashed spacecraft buried beneath layers of sediment? Or some unknown artifact from the past? Whatever the truth may be, the Baltic Sea anomaly remains one of the ocean's most perplexing mysteries. One that might never be fully explained. But not everything the ocean hides is as massive or as ancient. Some of its strangest phenomena are happening right now, forming in real time. And unlike the Baltic Sea anomaly, which remains motionless, these things are growing, stretching, reaching, almost alive. Deep beneath the frozen waters of the Arctic and Antarctic, a silent and deadly natural phenomenon is slowly forming. One that looks like something straight out of a science fiction movie. These are brinicles, also known as ice fingers of death. Unlike normal icicles which form above water, brinicles grow downward from the underside of sea ice, reaching toward the ocean floor like frozen tendrils, and anything that gets caught in their path, it doesn't stand a chance. Brinicles form when super cold salty water leaks from the ice above. This heavy, brine-rich liquid sinks rapidly, freezing everything it touches in an instant. The result? A long, hollow tube of ice that snakes its way toward the seafloor. The process happens shockingly fast. Scientists have filmed brinicles growing several feet in just a few hours. What makes them even stranger is what happens when they reach the seabed. Any small marine life in their path, sea stars, urchins, fish, becomes instantly frozen in place, trapped in a sudden icy death. It's one of the few natural events where the ocean freezes from the bottom up, creating a kind of underwater graveyard. Divers who have witnessed brinicles forming describe them as hypnotizing, yet terrifying. They look like something alive, twisting as they grow, searching for their next victim. But while brinicles are a well-documented phenomenon, one thing remains unexplained. Why do some areas produce hundreds of them, while others remain untouched? The ocean has a way of creating things that seem almost too strange to be real, and brinicles are just one example. But sometimes what washes up from the deep is even more disturbing. Because what would you do if you found a single, perfectly intact giant eyeball staring back at you from the shore? Imagine walking along the beach when you spot something large, round, and staring right back at you. That's exactly what happened in Florida in 2012 when a beachgoer stumbled upon a massive, perfectly intact eyeball about the size of a softball washed up on shore. No body, no bones, just an eyeball. Experts were baffled. It was too big for most fish, too cleanly removed to be a natural injury, and too fresh to have been floating in the ocean for long. People immediately started speculating. Was it from a giant squid, a deep-sea monster, or something even weirder? Some even wondered if it could be a mutation or a piece of an unknown species lurking somewhere in the ocean's depths. Eventually, scientists identified it as belonging to a large swordfish, most likely removed by a fisherman. But the mystery didn't end there. How did it end up so far from open water? Why was it perfectly intact, with no decay? And why do strange body parts like this keep washing up on beaches around the world? Some believe the ocean delivers warnings, strange objects, bizarre creatures, and unexplained remains that hint at something lurking far below, beyond our reach. And while the giant eyeball mystery may have an explanation, there's another discovery in the ocean that doesn't just hint at history, it's a literal piece of space itself, buried beneath the Atlantic. When Apollo 11 made history by landing humans on the moon in 1969, it left behind more than footprints. The mission's F-1 rocket engines, which launched the spacecraft into orbit, detached and fell back to Earth, crashing deep into the Atlantic Ocean. For decades, they were thought to be lost forever. Then, in 2013, a team funded by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos made an unbelievable discovery. The remains of the engines, buried under miles of ocean, perfectly preserved in the darkness. Finding them was no easy task. The wreckage was sitting more than 14,000 feet below the surface, deeper than even the Titanic. Using advanced sonar technology, the team located twisted, burnt remains of the massive rocket engines scattered across the ocean floor. But the real shock was the level of detail still visible. You could still see the serial numbers on some parts. Why does this matter? These engines helped launch the first humans to another world. They represent one of humanity's greatest achievements, and yet, they ended up forgotten at the bottom of the ocean. A reminder of how quickly history can disappear beneath the waves. The engines were recovered and partially restored, but the ocean still holds more secrets. If something as monumental as pieces of the moon landing can be lost for decades, what else is down there? waiting to be found? Maybe something even older, something we weren't supposed to find at all. Off the coast of Yonaguni, Japan, divers exploring the seafloor came across something almost impossible to believe. A massive, step-like stone structure with precise 90-degree angles, terraces, and even what looks like a staircase. It looked more like a man-made pyramid than a natural rock formation. But here's the catch, it's underwater, nearly 85 feet beneath the surface. The Yonaguni Monument has been at the center of a heated debate for years. Some geologists say it's just a natural rock formation, shaped by thousands of years of ocean currents, but others argue the structure is too precise, too symmetrical to be random. If that's true, it could mean one thing: this is a lost city, drowned by rising seas thousands of years ago. Even stranger, divers have reported what look like carved symbols on the monument, as well as what appear to be roads and walls extending beyond the main structure. Could this be proof of an ancient civilization that existed before recorded history? Some even link it to the legendary lost city of Mu, Japan's version of Atlantis. Whether it's a natural wonder or the ruins of something long forgotten, the Yonaguni Monument remains one of the most mysterious underwater formations in the world. And it's not the only city swallowed by the sea. For centuries, Heracleion was just a myth, an ancient Egyptian city mentioned in historical texts, but never actually found. That changed in 2000, when a team of marine archaeologists discovered massive ruins off the coast of Egypt, buried beneath layers of sand and silt. They had found Heracleion, a city lost to the ocean for over 1,200 years. What makes Heracleion so incredible is how well preserved it is. Massive statues of Egyptian gods, entire temples, and even ships loaded with gold and treasure were found perfectly intact. It was a bustling trading hub, filled with merchants from Greece and Egypt, until it was suddenly swallowed by the sea. Scientists believe an earthquake or rising sea levels caused the city to sink into the Mediterranean. But some mysteries remain. Why did it disappear so completely from history? Why were some artifacts in near-perfect condition despite being underwater for over a millennium? Some even believe Heracleion's collapse wasn't entirely natural. Could something more have been at play? Like Atlantis, this city was once thought to be nothing but legend. But Heracleion is very real, and if this mythical city existed, what other lost civilizations could still be waiting to be uncovered beneath the waves? Deep in the Pacific, hidden beneath the blue waters of Truk Lagoon, now Chuck Lagoon, lies one of the most haunting underwater graveyards in the world. Dozens of sunken warships, tanks, and aircraft sit untouched on the ocean floor, a silent reminder of one of World War II's most devastating battles. In 1944, the US launched a surprise attack on Japan's biggest naval base in the Pacific. The battle lasted 3 days, sinking over 60 Japanese warships and 250 aircraft. Some ships sank so quickly, entire crews went down with them, their remains still resting inside. Today, the wrecks remain eerily intact, covered in coral, marine life, and even unexploded ammunition. Inside the sunken ships, divers have found abandoned helmets, gas masks, torpedoes, and even human bones, untouched for nearly 80 years. The eerie sight has given the lagoon a chilling reputation. Some divers report hearing ghostly noises, seeing shadowy figures moving inside the wrecks, and even feeling an invisible presence. While Truk Lagoon has become a famous dive site, it remains a giant underwater war memorial, a place where time stopped in an instant. These ships were meant to rule the Pacific, but instead they now belong to the deep, forever frozen in history, beneath the waves. Imagine diving into a deep, still cenote in Mexico. The water crystal clear, sunlight filtering through the surface. Everything looks normal, until you reach about 100 feet down. Suddenly, a river appears, complete with flowing currents, misty banks, and even fallen tree branches. But here's the eerie part. This river isn't made of fresh water. It's a thick, ghostly layer of hydrogen sulfide, completely separate from the water above, moving as if it's an actual river beneath the surface. This phenomenon happens when salt water and hydrogen sulfide mix, creating a dense, surreal-looking layer that sits at the bottom of the cenote, perfectly mimicking a river. It even has a shoreline, giving divers the chilling illusion of floating over an entirely different world. Some describe the experience as otherworldly, like entering a place untouched by time, where the laws of nature seem to work differently. But Cenote Angelita isn't the only strange pattern forming underwater. Elsewhere, nature is creating perfect geometric shapes on the ocean floor. and the mystery behind them took years to solve. For years, divers in Japan noticed intricate circular patterns forming in the sand at the bottom of the ocean. They looked exactly like the mysterious crop circles seen on land, perfectly symmetrical, decorated with small ridges, and stretching up to 7 feet across. With no immediate explanation, theories ran wild. Was it a deep-sea current, a natural ocean phenomenon, or something extraterrestrial? Then, the real answer surfaced, and it was even stranger than the theories. The artist behind these formations was a tiny, unassuming pufferfish. Scientists observed male pufferfish working tirelessly for days on end, using only their fins to carve out these elaborate circular nests in the sand. The purpose? To attract a mate. The more precise and symmetrical the design, the better the chances of luring in a female. This bizarre behavior had gone undiscovered for years, proving that even in the modern age, the ocean is still full of secrets. But sometimes, the things we find aren't just mysterious, they're worth a fortune. And in one of the world's most legendary shipwrecks, treasure worth billions still sits at the bottom of the sea. In 1708, the San Jose, a massive Spanish galleon, set sail carrying what would become the most valuable sunken treasure in history. Loaded with gold, silver, and emeralds, it was on its way from South America to Spain, until it was ambushed by British warships. The San Jose exploded in a fiery blast, sinking with 600 crew members and an unimaginable fortune. For over 300 years, its final resting place remained a mystery. Then, in 2015, the wreck was finally found off the coast of Colombia, resting at the bottom of the Caribbean. And what was inside? Over $17 billion worth of treasure, a staggering amount untouched for centuries. Cannons, chests overflowing with gold, and mountains of silver coins still lay scattered across the seafloor. But here's the catch: the treasure has never been recovered. A massive legal battle erupted between Colombia, Spain, and private salvage companies, all claiming ownership of the legendary ship. As a result, the San Jose still sits right where it sank, its gold and jewels waiting untouched, hidden beneath centuries of sand. It's proof that the ocean is still hiding some of the greatest lost fortunes in history. And if the San Jose can remain undiscovered for 3 centuries, who knows what else might still be out there, waiting to be found. In the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, 10,000 feet below the surface, rests the shattered remains of the USS Scorpion, one of the most mysterious submarine disasters in history. Officially, the nuclear-powered attack submarine sank in 1968 due to an unexplained malfunction, but many believe there's far more to the story. The USS Scorpion was returning from a classified mission when it suddenly went silent. There was no distress signal, no warning, just disappearance. When search teams finally located the wreckage months later, they found the submarine's remains scattered across the ocean floor, its hull strangely twisted and torn apart. The official explanation? A faulty torpedo exploded inside the vessel. But that's where things get strange. Some experts argue the damage doesn't match an internal explosion. It looks more like something attacked the submarine from the outside. Was it an enemy vessel, a Cold War cover-up, or something even more mysterious lurking in the deep? And then there's the eerie part. Before its disappearance, the USS Scorpion reportedly sent a cryptic message to Naval Command, warning that it was being followed. Followed by what? A foreign submarine? A secret weapon? Some believe unidentified submerged objects, unexplained craft moving at impossible speeds underwater, could be responsible. To this day, no one knows the full truth, but whatever happened to the USS Scorpion, it wasn't an accident. And its wreckage still sits there, deep in the Atlantic, holding on to secrets that may never surface. One of the greatest aviation mysteries of all time is tied directly to the ocean. In 2014, Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 vanished mid-flight, cutting off communication without a single distress signal. Despite one of the largest search efforts in history, the plane was simply gone, until pieces of wreckage started washing up years later. In 2015, the first confirmed debris appeared, a wing fragment called a flaperon, found on Reunion Island in the Indian Ocean. Over the years, more pieces were discovered off the coast of Africa and on remote islands, giving investigators only partial clues as to what happened. But the main fuselage, black boxes, and majority of the wreck remain missing. Some believe the plane's final resting place is deep in the Indian Ocean, hidden beyond reach. Others suggest something more mysterious. Was it hijacked? Did it crash somewhere unknown? Without the main wreckage, the full truth remains buried beneath the waves. But while the ocean hides secrets of the past, it also shelters creatures so strange they feel almost unreal. Deep in the pitch-black depths of the ocean, there are creatures that look like they belong on another planet. One of the most bizarre is the bright pink see-through Fantasia, a bioluminescent sea cucumber that glows in the dark and appears completely transparent. Found near the Celebes Sea, this surreal-looking animal drifts through the water like a floating alien jelly. Unlike most sea cucumbers, which crawl along the ocean floor, this one swims, using tiny fins to propel itself through the deep. Its internal organs are clearly visible, glowing faintly as it moves. Scientists first captured footage of it in 2010, and since then, it's become one of the most fascinating deep-sea discoveries ever recorded. How many more creatures like this are out there? The ocean is a breeding ground for the unknown, and if the bright pink see-through Fantasia can exist, what else might be lurking in the depths, still waiting to be found? Just off the coast of Bimini, in the Bahamas, lies a strange underwater formation that has fueled one of the greatest mysteries in archaeology. Known as Bimini Road, this site consists of a long, straight path of massive rectangular stone slabs, sitting just 20 feet beneath the surface. It looks shockingly man-made, as if it was once part of an ancient sunken city, and some believe it could be proof of Atlantis itself. The stones are arranged in a near-perfect linear formation, extending for nearly half a mile. Some researchers argue they are just naturally formed limestone blocks shaped by ocean currents. But others point to strange carvings, sharp 90-degree angles, and the way the stones seem to be stacked, suggesting they may have been intentionally placed by an ancient civilization. Adding to the mystery, the legend of Atlantis describes a great city that was swallowed by the sea thousands of years ago. Could Bimini Road be a remnant of that lost world? Or is it just an unusual geological formation that happens to look like something more? To this day, no one can say for sure. In 1901, sponge divers off the coast of Antikythera, Greece, discovered something truly baffling: a 2,000-year-old device buried in a shipwreck. At first, it looked like a corroded lump of bronze, but when examined closely, it revealed intricate gears, dials, and inscriptions. It was an ancient analog computer, centuries ahead of its time. The Antikythera mechanism could predict eclipses, track planetary movements, and even calculate Olympic Games dates. But how did ancient Greeks build something so advanced? Some believe it was knowledge lost to time, while others suggest an unknown civilization influenced its design. Even today, scientists can't fully explain how such complex technology existed in 100 BCE. That's about it. Write in the comments which find impressed you the most. For more useful information, watch other videos.